What if slavery never truly ended, but instead transformed into something more insidious, so subtle that its subjects willingly embrace it? The modern world, celebrated for its technological advancements and increasing convenience, has fostered an era of unprecedented comfort. Yet, beneath this veneer of progress lies a paradox. The more comfortable life becomes, the less control individuals seem to have over their own existence. Slavery, in its historical form, was enforced through chains, violence, and oppression. It was a system built on explicit domination, where one human was the property of another. Over time, such structures were abolished, yet the fundamental principle of control remained intact, merely adapting to the constraints of a modern society that prides itself on freedom. Today, the mechanisms of subjugation are not overt but psychological, economic, and digital. The chains are no longer made of iron but of debt, addiction, and dependency. This new form of enslavement does not require coercion. Instead, it seduces. It offers ease, comfort, and instant gratification in exchange for autonomy. The masses are not forced into submission. They are lulled into it, conditioned to believe that their chains are privileges. Unlike past generations who toiled under physical duress, modern individuals remain bound by golden cages, voluntarily confined by the very luxuries they cherish. The thesis of this discussion is clear. Comfort has become a tool of enslavement. The very things designed to enhance life, technology, convenience, entertainment, have been weaponized to pacify, distract, and control. The question is no longer whether people are free, but whether they even desire freedom when captivity is so effortlessly pleasurable. If discomfort is the price of liberation, how many are willing to pay it? Freedom, as it is commonly understood, is an illusion. It is not the absence of chains but the absence of awareness that one is bound. The modern individual believes himself to be free because he can choose which products to buy, which entertainment to consume, and which career path to pursue. Yet beneath these superficial choices lies a deeper structure of control, one that dictates the very parameters of those choices. The system does not need to forbid rebellion if it can make the desire for rebellion obsolete. Economic chains. The most pervasive form of modern enslavement is economic. Unlike the slavery of the past, which relied on brute force, contemporary servitude operates through debt, wages, and the illusion of upward mobility. From the moment an individual enters adulthood, he is burdened with financial obligations, student loans, mortgages, credit card debt, all under the guise of opportunity. He believes he is investing in his future, yet he is merely securing his place in a cycle of perpetual labor. Work itself has been rebranded from a necessity into an identity. People no longer see themselves as workers but as professionals, entrepreneurs, and creators. This illusion of self-determination masks the underlying reality, that the majority of labor serves not the individual but the machine of capital, which thrives on the exploitation of time and energy. Those who refuse to participate are not punished outright but are instead marginalized, labeled as failures, or cast aside by a system that values productivity over humanity. Technological addiction. Beyond economic control, technology serves as a far more insidious tool of subjugation. The modern world is saturated with distractions, each designed not to liberate but to ensnare. Social media, entertainment platforms, and algorithmic recommendations form a digital prison, one in which individuals willingly surrender their attention in exchange for stimulation. It is no longer necessary to impose censorship when people can be drowned in an ocean of irrelevant information. The attention economy does not suppress thought, it fragments it, rendering deep contemplation nearly impossible. People are no longer guided by their own will but by invisible forces that dictate what they see, what they think, and ultimately, who they become. The algorithm is the new master, shaping reality in ways that few recognize and even fewer resist. Mental conditioning. Perhaps the most profound form of enslavement is psychological. The modern individual is conditioned to equate freedom with comfort, yet it is precisely this attachment to comfort that ensures his captivity. He avoids struggle, pain, and hardship, believing them to be unnecessary burdens rather than essential conditions for growth. This fear of discomfort makes him docile, willing to accept any condition so long as it does not disrupt his sense of ease. Entertainment, consumerism, and passive consumption create a cycle of dependency. The mind, dulled by convenience, ceases to seek its own liberation. In past ages, revolutionaries and philosophers saw discomfort as a necessary path to truth. Today, even the mildest inconvenience is met with outrage or retreat. The individual, trapped within the cocoon of his own comforts, fails to recognize that what he calls freedom is nothing more than a carefully curated illusion. The illusion of freedom is not sustained by force but by preference. People do not need to be imprisoned if they no longer seek escape. If they believe that their comforts are the pinnacle of human existence, they will never ask what lies beyond them. They will remain shackled, not by any external oppressor, but by their own unwillingness to break free. Comfort, once a luxury, has become the most effective tool of control. It is no longer a simple indulgence but a means of pacification, a subtle yet powerful mechanism that dulls resistance and fosters complacency. The modern individual, seduced by convenience, does not recognize that what he perceives as progress is, in fact, a system designed to weaken him. He does not resist because he does not feel the need to. He does not rebel because he sees nothing to rebel against. But the comfort he enjoys is not accidental. It is engineered. It is given not as a gift, but as a leash. It ensures compliance, fosters dependency, and ultimately reshapes the individual into something predictable, docile, and easily controlled. The manufactured need for convenience. The pursuit of convenience has become a doctrine, a silent ideology that dictates how people live, work, and think. Every new technology promises to make life easier, yet with each advancement, something is lost. The skills that once defined human capability, memory, focus, problem-solving, are now outsourced to machines. The body, once strong and resilient, atrophies in a sedentary existence. The mind, once curious and independent, is numbed by automation and instant gratification. But who benefits from this erosion of human strength? The answer is clear: those who design the systems of dependency. Corporations thrive on manufactured needs, creating problems only to sell their solutions. Governments, seeking stability, prefer a population too distracted to challenge authority. The individual, meanwhile, mistakes his increasing comfort for increasing freedom, unaware that the more he depends on external systems, the less control he has over his own life. The fear of discomfort. Discomfort, in its purest form, is a catalyst for growth. It forges resilience, sharpens the mind, and strengthens the will. Yet, modern society has cast discomfort as an enemy, something to be avoided at all costs. Pain must be numbed, hardship must be alleviated, and struggle must be removed. But without struggle, there is no strength. Without hardship, there is no transformation. The fear of discomfort is not natural, it is conditioned. People are taught to seek pleasure and avoid pain, not realizing that true fulfillment comes not from indulgence but from mastery over suffering. The greatest minds in history understood this. The philosophers, warriors, and revolutionaries who shaped the world did not seek comfort, they sought power over themselves. They knew that only by embracing discomfort could they transcend their limitations. But today, this truth is hidden. People are told that life should be effortless, that success should come without sacrifice. They are lulled into passivity, made to believe that contentment is the highest goal. In reality, this fear of discomfort ensures that they remain weak, unable to challenge the forces that shape their existence. Bread and circuses in the digital age. In ancient Rome, the ruling class kept the masses complacent with bread and circuses, cheap food and grand spectacles that distracted the public from their lack of power. The modern equivalent is even more effective. Entertainment is endless, consumption is effortless, and the illusion of choice keeps people from realizing that they are not making choices at all. Streaming services, social media, viral trends, these are not mere pastimes. They are engineered distractions, designed to absorb attention and prevent the kind of deep thinking that leads to real change. The system does not fear outrage, it thrives on it. Outrage keeps people engaged, but engagement without action is meaningless. The real danger to those in power is not anger, it is awareness, discipline, and the refusal to be entertained into submission. The question, then, is simple: will you wake up, or will you continue to sleep? Will you embrace discomfort and reclaim control, or will you surrender to a life of comfortable captivity? If you understand the weight of these words, if you feel the chains you could not see before, then this is just the beginning. There is more to uncover, more to dismantle. Subscribe, because the next step is not comfort, it is liberation. The most effective form of control is not one that is imposed, but one that is accepted. When people willingly participate in their own subjugation, no force is needed to keep them bound. The modern world does not rely on chains or whips. It does not need to. It has something far more effective: psychological conditioning that makes individuals embrace their own captivity. This conditioning does not happen overnight. It is woven into the very fabric of society, shaping the way people think, act, and perceive their own limitations. It is a silent indoctrination, one that teaches dependence as normal, weakness as kindness, and comfort as the ultimate goal. A population that fears hardship, resists struggle, and avoids discomfort is a population that will never challenge the forces that govern it. Learned helplessness. The modern individual is not taught to be strong. He is not trained to think critically, to survive on his own, or to resist manipulation. Instead, he is taught to depend. He is conditioned to believe that he is incapable of solving his own problems without external aid, whether from institutions, corporations, or technology. This is not an accident, it is by design. Learned helplessness is a psychological state in which a person, after repeated exposure to difficulty without an immediate solution, stops attempting to change their situation. Over time, they internalize the belief that they are powerless, even in situations where they could regain control. This phenomenon is no longer just an individual condition, it has become a societal one. Everyday conveniences reinforce this passive mindset. When an app can summon food, when an algorithm can decide what to watch, when a voice assistant can answer any question, the individual no longer needs to struggle, search, or think. Each moment of ease is another step toward dependence, another reinforcement of the belief that he cannot function without the system. The loss of self-sufficiency. Humanity once thrived on self-reliance. The ability to grow food, build shelter, navigate the world, and endure hardship was not an extraordinary skill set. It was the baseline of existence. But over time, this knowledge was replaced with convenience. What was once essential for survival is now considered optional, archaic, or even irrelevant. The consequences are far-reaching. The modern individual is physically weaker than his ancestors, both in body and in will. He is unable to endure discomfort for long periods of time, conditioned to seek relief at the first sign of pain. He depends on external validation, unable to find purpose without approval from digital platforms. He has lost the ability to think independently, his worldview shaped by curated content and algorithmic manipulation. A person who cannot grow his own food is at the mercy of the supply chain. A person who cannot think for himself is at the mercy of propaganda. A person who cannot endure hardship will accept any condition, so long as it does not challenge his comfort. The world has created a generation of individuals who are not just physically dependent, but psychologically enslaved. The cycle of complacency. This system of control is self-reinforcing. Those who grow up within it know no other way. They do not recognize their own weakness because it is normalized. They do not question their lack of autonomy because the idea of autonomy itself has been redefined. To be free once meant to be self-sufficient, to own one's mind and body. Today, freedom is an illusion sold in the form of unlimited choices within a predefined structure. Society rewards compliance and punishes deviation. Those who embrace discomfort, who reject modern comforts in pursuit of strength, are labeled as extremists, as outliers, as irrational. They are made to feel as though their instincts are wrong, as though the path to liberation is a foolish one. But this is the final layer of control, one that ensures that even the desire for freedom is suppressed before it can manifest into action. The only escape from this cycle is awareness. To see the invisible chains is the first step to breaking them. To recognize that comfort is not always a gift, but often a weapon, is to reclaim the ability to resist. The question is not whether one is enslaved, it is whether one has the will to fight for their own liberation. The greatest chains are those that are never questioned. The modern world has given its people comfort, but in doing so, it has stripped them of their will to resist. It has taught them to fear struggle, to avoid hardship, and to seek ease above all else. But true freedom cannot exist without struggle. It is not given, it is taken. It is not inherited, it is forged. Those who wish to reclaim their autonomy must be willing to suffer for it. There is a way out, but it is not an easy one. It requires unlearning everything that has been conditioned into the mind, rejecting the illusions that have been accepted as truth, and embracing the very thing that society teaches to avoid: discomfort. Redefining freedom. The first step to liberation is to redefine what it means to be free. The world has distorted this concept, selling the idea that freedom is the ability to choose between an endless array of distractions. But choice without power is meaningless. A prisoner who can select his meals but cannot leave his cell is not free. A worker who can switch jobs but remains bound by debt is not free. A person who can consume unlimited entertainment but cannot think independently is not free. Freedom is not the absence of restrictions, it is the presence of control over one's own existence. To be free is to be self-reliant, to be unaffected by manipulation, to be willing to endure pain in pursuit of something greater. It is to embrace discipline over indulgence, reality over illusion, strength over comfort. Rebuilding agency. Liberation is not a singular act, but a process. It requires a deliberate rejection of the forces that seek to pacify, weaken, and control. The steps are clear, but few are willing to take them. Physical resilience. The body and mind are connected. A weak body leads to a weak will. Strength must be cultivated through hardship, through fasting, through labor, through voluntary suffering. When the body is trained to endure, the mind follows. Financial independence. Economic chains are among the strongest. Debt is control. Dependence on an employer is control. To reclaim autonomy, one must break free from these binds. Living below one's means, acquiring skills that produce value, and rejecting unnecessary consumption are forms of resistance. Mental fortitude. Thought must be reclaimed. The mind must be trained to resist distractions, to reject propaganda, and to think deeply. This requires discipline, reading instead of scrolling, creating instead of consuming, questioning instead of accepting. A mind that is independent cannot be enslaved. Mastery over desire. The modern world operates on addiction, whether to food, entertainment, validation, or material possessions. He who is ruled by his desires is not free. The path to liberation demands mastery over impulse, the ability to choose long-term strength over short-term pleasure. Reconnecting with reality. The final step is to step away. The digital world, the world of endless convenience and passive consumption, is a cage disguised as freedom. Reconnecting with reality means returning to what is tangible, face-to-face interaction, time spent in nature, the experience of doing rather than watching. It means valuing what is real over what is simulated. The world offers distractions to keep people from seeing the truth, that everything they need to be free is already within them. Strength is built, not given. Autonomy is taken, not granted. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the path. Those who understand this will walk away from the illusions. They will reject the ease of slavery in favor of the struggle of liberation. The only question that remains is whether you will join them. The world does not need to imprison those who no longer desire freedom. It does not need to force submission when submission is chosen willingly. The greatest deception of the modern age is not oppression. It is comfort masquerading as liberation. A system that pacifies does not need to punish. A system that distracts does not need to censor. A system that offers ease does not need to use force. But for those who have seen the truth, there is no going back. Once the illusion is broken, comfort is no longer enough. Entertainment no longer satisfies. The endless cycle of consumption and distraction is revealed for what it is, a mechanism of control. To see clearly is to understand that freedom has never been free. It has always required sacrifice. It has always demanded struggle. Restating the central idea. Everything that enslaves the modern individual does so through invitation, not coercion. The chains are accepted because they are gilded with convenience. The distractions are embraced because they feel good. The dependency is welcomed because it is easier than the burden of responsibility. But ease is not liberation. It is the numbing of the will, the slow erosion of the soul's capacity to resist. The question is not whether one is trapped, but whether one has the courage to break free. Because to reject comfort is to reject the very thing that society has taught to be desirable. To embrace discomfort is to walk a path few are willing to take. The cost of freedom is hardship. The reward of hardship is power. Call to action, the choice before you. The time for illusion is over. Now there is only choice. You can remain within the system, lulled by its comforts, accepting the slow decay of your will in exchange for ease. You can embrace distraction, avoid struggle, and continue believing that this is the best life has to offer. Or you can choose the harder path, the path of discipline, self-reliance, and mastery. The path that demands sacrifice but offers something priceless in return, the ability to own yourself, to think freely, to act without manipulation. Most will not choose this path. Most will remain asleep, believing their cage to be a home. But some, perhaps you, will wake up. Some will understand that comfort is the weapon and discomfort is the key. The only question that remains is this: will you break free, or will you remain enslaved? The choice is yours.